Munster rediscover some form to halt their slide down the table. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Munster's only wins in recent times have been against the bottom two sides in the league, and they really needed to find a win from somewhere. Good performance in this one. Benetton, though, not really up to much themselves, as maybe, feeling a season is over and maybe turning the thoughts to next year. But let's go through the game and we talk a little bit more about the teams later after we look at stats as well. So Munster attacking into 22 early on, but lacking accuracy, and they knock on. Benetton win a penalty at the scrum and are able to clear. A decent kick for territory by Daly, and Benetton have a defensive line out just outside their own 22. The line out goes over the top. Munster gets the loose ball first, and they put it through the hands for Nash to dive over in the corner to finish. Crowley converts from the touchline, 7 points to 0. Marini then tackles Lockman off the ball, and Munster point to the post. It's a long one, and Crowley is off target to the left. Munster then playing with a high tempo. Casey snipes, they recycle, move it left before Benetton can reset. Nankivell draws the cover and puts Tom Farrell over to score. Conversion missed, 12 points to 0. Benetton then come forward, good carries from Menoncello, then Negri bursts through a gap but immediately clutches his hamstring and he has to go off. Wish him a speedy recovery and anyone else who was injured in the game. Not nice to see as well, because Negri, he'd been out for a long layoff and had just come back for a first start since then. So, not good news on the injury front for him. Benetton then kicked to the corner from penalty. Their line-out malfunctions again and Munster can kick clear. Benetton attacking on the edge of 22, probing for a gap. Lina almost does get through a half gap. Eventually, though, Munster force a knock on. We then have a team mode check for a high tackle from Alalatoa on Odogwu. Penalty only. Umaga strokes it over for 12 points to 3. A period kick tennis then results in Lina being isolated and dragged into touch inside his own 22. Munster not straight at the line out. But then they do win a penalty at the resulting scrum and they kick to the corner. When the maul stalls, they go to one-out runners with that same high tempo. Then Coombs wriggles out of a tackle, has a bit of support and gets over the line to score, converted with 19 points to 3. Benetton then work the ball to about 10 metres out, but they're sloppy at the base of the ruck and they knock on. Chance gone from them. Half time is 19-3. In the second half, Benetton break through first Menoncello. Then Umaga goes close, but Nankivell gets back to him to stop him just before the line. Munster scramble well, managed to force an error from Benetton, turn the ball over and they get rid of it. Casey then goes quickly from a penalty, kicks a 50-22. Great position for Munster. They work it right to left, up to the line. We then have a TMO check for possible try. You have a delay though, because the Italian director is just dead set on showing a replay of a pass that he thinks forward, but the referee is watching on the big screen and says, no, it's actually flat, and then tells the TMO to tell the director to show the replay that he actually wants to see. And after a while, the director does comply. And we get to see then that Ahern, he stops short, but he's able to stretch out and ground without a double movement, converted with 26 points to 3, bonus point try for Munster. And it's around that time, strangely, that the feed to the big screen stops working. I wonder why. I'm sure it's technical issues. Benetton then into 22, close the line with penalty advantage. Menoncello and Umaga again, good carries before they go to the forwards. Bernasconi grounds next to the post, converted for 26 points to 10. A rare kind of moment of real kind of continuity from Benetton there, not just applying the pressure, but also having the wherewithal and the accuracy as well to finish. Munster then down in the other 22, penalty advantage. Crowley cross kicks to Kendallin, who goes over in the corner. Conversion hits the outside of the post, 31 points to 10. Nankivell then with a mazy run from halfway into the 22. Munster keep the tempo up, and Byrne goes over to score, converted to 38 points to 10. Jack Crowley then pinged for lying on the ball. He goes to the bin, and him going to the bin then ushers in a period of real Benetton pressure. A Dogbo gets pinged for collapsing a maul close to the line. Munster get another warning. Benetton go to the corner. They look to drive the maul. A Dogbo collapses again. They then try to move the ball right down the blind side. Casey knocks on deliberately. He goes to the bin. There's no penalty try though because Smith was covering behind him. I think Adogbo was lucky that Casey went to the bin because I think he would have gone to the bin after two collapses on the bounce. Benetton then get held up over the line, but there was another penalty. Munster get another warning for a possible third yellow card. Benetton back to the corner. They go to the tail of the line out this time. They look to drive the maul, but Byrne comes through the middle, latches onto the ball carrier. Unplayable, turnover, great defence under immense pressure, and to cap it off, Munster win a penalty at the resulting scrum. We then have a TMO check for possible Munster try, but looked like there was certainly a knock-on in the build-up. The review confirms there was two knock-ons from Munster in the build-up. Scrum to Benetton. Munster pinched the ball as Benetton tried to run it out of their 22. Gleeson snaps as it goes down the line, combines with O'Donovan. Munster working inside. Gleeson involved again, and he gets over to score. Converted for 45 points to 10. Benetton then pressing for a score. Final minute of the game. They tap a penalty close to the line. Recycled, and then Garbisi gets over to score. Conversion missed, 45 points to 15. The full-time score. Let's have a look at the stats and then we'll come back and talk about each of the teams. So let me pull the stats up here. Okay, so first off, 2 tries for Benetton, 7 for Munster. Possession 52 to 48. Offloads 5 for Benetton, 6 for Munster. And let me just refresh it there for a second because some of the stats in front of my eyes were updating. Okay, I think they're right now. So meters gained 442 to 387. Clean breaks 9 to 7, and defenders beaten 28 each. So Benetton converting about 1 in 3 and Munster 1 in 4 there. We see a lot of those stats, possession, meters gained, clean breaks, all in favour of Benetton. But again, it was that accuracy, but also that kind of continuity just to keep things going that was really lacking for Benetton. Territory then 53% to 47. So again, Benetton just edging that. Kicks and plays 16 for Benetton, 29 for Munster. So you can see there, Benetton preferring to run the ball as much as they could, but that cut them out a few times. Kick meters then 468 to 888. So Munster, kicking close to 30 meters per kick. And, generally when teams are doing that, they're kicking for distance, but you've also got some contestables in there. And Benetton kicking slightly longer, around the same amount because there's 16 for 468. So, again, plenty of length on the kicks when they went for them, but some contestables in there too. And that is shown in the kicks retained as well. 3 for Benetton, 6 for Munster. Lineouts then 14 from 17 for Benetton, misfiring at crucial times, and only 6 from 8 for Munster. So 82% for Benetton, 75% for Munster. So both teams definitely need work on for their line out. Line out steals then, none for Benetton, 1 for Munster. On the scrums then, 2 out of 4 for Benetton and 7 out of 7 for Munster. The scrum did go back and forth a little bit, but at times Munster did have a bit of a kind of shove on, but not all the time. 50% success for Benetton, 100% success for Munster. Okay, so let's talk about teams. You start with Benetton. As I said, they look like a team whose attention has already switched to next year. In commentary, they're talking about which coaches are leaving, who's staying, that kind of thing. And yeah, there's not much left for Benetton to play for, which is kind of unusual for them. Certainly in recent years around this time of year, like if we cast our mind back pretty much a year ago, Munster went to Cork to play, or sorry, Benetton went to Cork to play Munster in basically a winner takes all qualification for the playoffs. Munster won that. Benetton just narrowly missing out. But this year, they're well adrift. They were, I think, 12 points adrift of the playoff place at the start of play today. That's gotten even bigger now. And yeah, there's even outside chance. I don't think they have that to make the playoffs. So yeah, they've got to focus on next year. You can see that in their play. Again, it's difficult motivation wise for players when they kind of are at the tail end of the season. Obviously, some players trying to avoid injury, etc. And it's not, it's not on purpose that they're not putting the effort in. It's just, you go out every time and you try your best to give your all, but it's that kind of intrinsic motivation that's there when there's something to play for that just lifts players' performance naturally, and when it's missing, you kind of get a flat performance the way we did from the today. Munster have not been good at all recently. They've been dropping like a stone, down the URC table. They've finally halted that, at least for now, and keep themselves within the top 8. Obviously, they want to stay there. They want to finish as high as they can. They want to get back into Champions Cup next year, and hopefully for them make a better fist of it than they did this year. But for now, good performance in this one. Certainly not perfect. There were plenty of handling errors, and I think against better opposition could have been the difference between winning and losing. In this one, though, they just created so many chances. They had a lot of go forward. I thought, the pack did very well. A lot of young players coming through at Munster now as well. And it feels like now they've got kind of a decision to make for next season, in that, they've got tons of talent in that pack, especially in the back row. And the young guys, the likes of Gleeson, Dogbo, who come on as well, and his younger brother as well, Sean, who wasn't involved today. But there's plenty of others there as well. You've got Ruan Quinn as well. All of those guys for the last kind of season or two have been kind of living off scraps, getting in when there's big changes to the team, and not getting maybe the experience that they need at this time of their career. So do Munster now for next year kind of start shifting more towards them, or do they stick with the players that are there already? Because you look at the guys who were there too, you got the likes of Hodnett, O'Donoghue, Coombs. They're all quality players as well. It's just kind of getting that balance right. And I think, with the youth coming through, that could be what gives them a bit of a G-up. I thought Casey and Crowley went well, 9-10 combination. Those two really are coming on, and we've seen, Crowley, when you look at the whole thing that was happening last year with, is he in, is he out of the Ireland team, that kind of stuff. I think that had a big effect on him. Now that he seems to have nailed down that position, it seems to have had positive effects on his performances for Munster as well. Seeing Calvin Nash coming back as well has certainly been a boom for them, and they are beginning to get the core of the team back and fit as well. Still not job done for them. They need at least, I would say, one more bonus point win to make sure of that top 8 spot, because it is so close there. You've got basically 9 teams who, there's hair's breadth between most of them vying for that, those just 8 spots. Normally, we do have kind of a bigger pool of teams who are much closer to, normally it's kind of from 7th down to maybe 11th place, and there's maybe 3 or 4 points between them. But now, like, you're looking at, just throw a blanket over 5 or 6 teams, 1 or 2 points between them. There's less, maybe, runners in the race, as it were, but it is much closer. And one team is going to get very unlucky in missing out on it. And, that's that's why these results are so important for a team like Munster, is that, if they can keep on winning, then it's up to other teams then to try and match that. And if they don't, they could be the ones to miss out on the playoffs.